And we should be live, I think. So, welcome to the wealth debate. And exciting to be here again this week. I'm having a couple of, there's Sam, obviously, he can say hello. I'm going to, I've got to switch users here so that I can make sure I'm answering your questions, which means what I'm going to ask you guys to do is make sure that you are saying hello in the chat box. And so please say hello. Let us know you're here. I'm going to make sure that I am answering questions as we go through them. We're going to be talking about the rules of money, obviously. And so we know we always have questions on that because Sam talks about a lot of things with debt and all those different things. Miss Wendy, how are you doing tonight? And so obviously a lot of things to talk about, a lot of information out there. So Sam, I'm going to let you lead off. This seems to be the least amount of issues we've had getting started.
Yeah. Seems like we're getting better at it. It's this practice makes perfect, they said, or makes something. I don't know about what it makes. But anyways, so real quick, just want to talk about the news a little bit. Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve Chairman, was talking today about what their involvement was going to be in the future of the economy, some concerns they had. One in particular was the unemployment rate. So the unemployment rate peaked in the last 12 months to 14.8%. It's down to 6.3%. But Jerome reminded us that the numbers that they put together sometimes have errors, and that most likely his estimate comes around 10% of the population in the U.S. is unemployed. Plus, he mentioned about the lower income earners, which is a large impact on the economy, and felt like there was so much more to recover from, considering this drop in unemployment hadn't been seen since, I believe he said, 1948. So, huge drop in unemployment in a rapid 12-month period. The recovery is not complete in his eyes, and the Federal Reserve is going to continue to fuel the economy. Is what we got about that market. Just peaked over record highs, and it's continued to charge up. We're seeing a lot of that money being funneled into the market, into the economy, finding its way into the stock market, as well as the lowered interest rates are finding their way to entice people to buy property and further get involved in real estate. Thank you very much. And it'll be interesting to see. It looks like both markets will probably continue to accelerate. Of course, like anything, there's an end. When the music stops, everybody's looking for a chair. We'll see who gets one and who's left out, because unfortunately, this fuel is not coming from actual growth or GDP. It's coming from artificially from money being pumped into the market and the lower interest rates, which creates a much higher money supply. So there's a huge amount of money being created without actual products or services creating them, right? Creating that new wealth. So this creates a serious problem long term. Of course, you hope you get a downturn that's soft landing. This also creates a serious trap for the government and world banks, federal, like the Federal Reserve, Bank of Canada, Bank of England, all these banks that run the finances of the country, or at least lenders for the country, creates a serious problem to continue to fuel that. There's a tendency to continue to try to stimulate it by dropping rates and buying. And this is a practice that's relatively new. It is new in the U.S. And has been done for many years. In Japan, they would actually be the ones buying the stocks, equities, credit markets, stuff like that. In Japan, they're major holders of mutual funds. They're major holders of stock and equity positions in the market, and that's to continue to hold the market and hope that it continues to rise. It looks like a death trap to deflation. This is my concern, or my belief is that deflation is the way bigger threat than inflation in the coming years, because we're driving to the point where there's no money to be made. Like, if you're investing in companies in the stock market that make $0, and that's supposed to be an educated move, there's no return. If you're buying property that's inflated because interest rates are so low, there's no yield from cash flow. So this creates a serious problem with investment opportunities. And to attract money, because the yields are so low, you could go into a place like Europe where they have negative interest rates, like in the German Bund is producing a yield, negative yield. Japan's been doing it for a long time, but these other countries in Europe, it's an extremely difficult place to get out of when you get in there. So imagine this: you're giving money to someone and they're going to give you back less, and you're good with that. You're like, I'm okay with that, right? So why would you do that? Why would you give? Why would you buy a government bond that produces, say, negative 1%? And it's because there's literally no opportunities, and you're trying to, with idle capital, lose the least amount of value on it. And when you start going to negative rates or zero rates, where money costs nothing anymore, which again, these countries like Japan have been doing it for a long time, it's extremely difficult to get people to borrow money, or to attract money to lend for growth. People switch, and this is the one advantage the United States has had over everybody. People switch from a consumer to a saver, and aging populations don't spend as much money, and the whole world is aging. We're living longer. There's a strain on providing income from these governments, promises they made for retirement. So there's some serious problems. The strain it's going to have on the stock market. All this, and I'm not trying to paint a picture of bleakness. What I hope you're seeing is, the question becomes, where's the opportunity? Because there is an opportunity in all this. There is an opportunity. The one thing would love you to see is that the fallacy, the fiction of wealth and what it's all about, and how you can take the understanding of those laws and apply them and extract the opportunities that are being created. And there's lots of opportunity. One of the biggest opportunities, without question, is to become a lender, right? And one of the laws is access to debt, and you can be on either side of that. You can be the person that's acquiring the debt, and you can be the lender. What we'd love you to consider is the idea of borrowing money and then lending the money that you borrow. This is what we would like you to consider as an idea. And this is exactly what the banks do. They pay us as depositors a small percentage, if anything, in a savings account or in a CD or GIC or whatever respective country that you have, the guaranteed investment certificate or some kind of guaranteed, which is always below inflation and always, there's nothing there. You're losing money on it, and you take that money, you let it out. Well, why can't we do that with, say, how many of you get credit card offers for 0 or 1%? They're offered all the time. Why couldn't you, take that money and then lend it out at even 6% or 7%, secured against certain assets? Why couldn't you do that? Why couldn't you participate in factoring? Buying receivables, with that money, at a discount. There's lots you can do. The one thing you never have to worry about, as you really grasp these laws, is you'll never worry about access to capital. If you can't access capital, it's because your deal or your opportunity isn't as good as you think it is, right? Really, if you have a good opportunity, good money will always find good money, right? There's always opportunity. That money will be found. You just have to be able to understand, what's happening. And for us, when you're looking at, the idea that all wealth is created, there is no inhibition or hesitation of, trying to create an opportunity from nothing. Never letting money stand in your way. You shouldn't let money stand in your way. It's the opportunity and the quality of the opportunity. The less you know, the more money you need, right? The less you understand money, the more money you need. That's what it is. The more you understand money, the less money you need. You know, if you completely understand money, you realize, I don't need any of it. I don't need any money to fuel an opportunity. I just need to understand that opportunity and how everybody in that opportunity makes money, right? Rule number 5, one of the 5 rules is win-win transactions, right? So those are expansion rules. So the 2 expansion rules are win-win transactions and access to debt. You can participate in both of those. Absolutely. You can participate in creating expansion for yourself. And obviously the bonus rule, rule number 6, law number 6 is you know, understanding that we get paid for solving problems. We're problem solvers. So when you start compiling these things and putting them together, you realize that wealth is a concept and it's in flux. It's moving. It's changing all the time. You know, the one thing that we need to recognize is the velocity of money, the movement of money is where the opportunity exists. If the money's not moving, there is no opportunity. A $20 bill is not $20. A $20 bill put into the economy and transacted is literally thousands of dollars in the economy, right? But when you take that 20 and you stuff it in your mattress, it's just $20. That's all it is $20. So the velocity of money and how we can participate on the velocity of money to create wealth, it's really what's going to give us the opportunity to achieve financial independence. And financial independence, less about how much money you have and the ability to recognize law 1 to create wealth. Pep?
Well, I'm just going through the chat box here, and awesome to have everybody, and more importantly, some new people. This is great. Albert, I don't know who you are, but he said, I'm finally meeting the mythical Pip. I didn't know I was mythical.
There you go.
Yeah, I've bet making my day when you
Stay
said
tuned.
that.
He turns into a unicorn.
Yeah, I will turn into a unicorn tomorrow or the next day. I'm not really sure. So that's cool. Some other new people. I don't, and you may know Sam, Audrey.
Audrey, yeah.
You know what? I keep spelling wrong. I don't have my glasses on. I'm like, how do I keep spelling wrong?
See, you look smart.
Audrey Youth. I don't know you. It says you're from Hamilton, so great to have you as well. And you know some of my common friends of mine. So the new people that are saying hello, and if you're on there and you haven't said hello, please do. You'll notice I reply to everybody that says hello, and it's not anything bad. Just I want to let you know that we see you. We love to have you. Please share this with new people. Every time I see new people, I want them to share it with new people. Not that I get tired of seeing Core every time that I teach this, or that we're on here, but it's great to see new people as well. So when I said Pip to Annie, she said the Pip. I don't know who Annie is either. So that's even funny. Albert, great to have you. You just made my whole day. But Sam is exactly right. And I've been talking, and I don't know if you want to call it teaching, preaching, these kinds of things for years. But you know, you can literally borrow money from your, and I'll say it on here. I have no problem saying it, from a credit card at a low interest rate and lend it out to somebody else at a higher rate. And if you just did it on one car, somebody said, what should you lend on? Is a car a good thing to lend on? I don't know if it's a great thing to lend on. It's probably higher risk, but it's at least an asset that you could take back if somebody didn't pay you. You think about the used car salespeople all the time, or not used car sales, but the used car sales lots. They'll resell that same car over and over again. They'll take it back, they'll repossess it and sell it again. And so obviously you want to make sure you CYA cover your assets and everything that you do. But more importantly, yeah, I agree with you, Wendy, the Pip. I don't know why they think anybody thinks I'm mythical in any way, but I'm humbled by that. That's awesome. But the point is, as long as you have an asset to take back, if you borrow the money at 1% and you lend it out at 7%, your return is actually infinite because you use none of your own money. How often would you pay $1 to make $7? I mean, that's a pretty easy question. Now, it's an easy question if I do it with money. But when I say we got to go into debt to do it, people freak out. Their butt cheeks squeeze together and they're like, oh no. And so that's the point we want to make, is understanding that debt is actually okay if we understand it. And we can utilize it as a tool. The banks do it all day long. They got the biggest, tallest, nicest buildings. It's that way on purpose because they make a boatload of money. And I'm going to say something to Sam that he or not disagree with Sam, but Sam was saying the population is aging. United States, it's aging. Canada, it's aging. Japan, it's aging. But there's a few countries and one whole entire continent that's not the case on, and that's Africa as a continent, and both China and India. India, especially, we're seeing a younger population. Mexico's got a younger population as well. There's certain countries out there. There are most of the countries that have been the highest wage earners have been around. I mean, all of Northern Europe, even Southern Europe, Italy, places like that. We're talking older populations, but there are places here and there that are very much a younger population. And I think our biggest challenge is, how do we reach those people? How do we get, I know when we did a lot of trainings for Legacy and Rich Dad and all that, they went to India to teach to teach a lot of classes. But what they were finding, and this is something that India is going to have to do, is they were finding it was really hard for people that lived in India to take their money out of India and go invest somewhere else. And if a country really wants to grow, they have to understand that it's all about investment coming in, but also investment going out. The money's got to move both ways. We all work with currencies. The word currency comes from the word current. The word current means to move. And if the water isn't moving, if the water doesn't have a current, it becomes stagnant. There's algae. But when water's moving, go to high up in the mountains and you see a stream that's moving real quickly. Look how clear the water is when it doesn't have all that pollution and all that kind of stuff. And we've got to look at money the same way. My favorite book from Robert Kiyosaki is called Who Took My Money? And it's about the velocity of money, the speed of money. It's not about putting your money into a new construction condo in downtown Toronto and saying, man, I hope in 3 or 4 years this works out for us. And what I want you to think about, and I teach this every time I teach a class, and I hope you guys can understand this, and Sammy knows I love to use pop culture. Love the TV show Shark Tank, or if my Canadians, Dragon's Den. Doesn't matter. It's the same show. And in many instances, the same people on it. And the funny thing about Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, those guys and ladies that are the sharks or the dragons, the reason they won't invest 99 times out of 100 is they can't get their money back fast enough. They'll say that all the time. They'll say, great idea. Oh man, it's an awesome idea, but I don't see how I'm gonna get my money back quick enough. And I don't wanna wait 3, 4, 5 years to get their money back. And so I think that is so important to understand. And that's something we as individual investors should learn from. If the wealthiest people in the world are wanting to get their money back quicker, what should you want to do? You should want to do the exact same thing, even if it's at smaller dollar amounts. It doesn't matter to me if it's $1 million, if it's $1,000. You should be thinking the same way. Sammy.
So, and I don't know if we said this last week or if we said it before, Pip, maybe you can remind me. Key point about understanding money. Money will not solve your money problems. Let me say that again. Money will not solve your money problems, because your money problems are rooted in practice, in mindset. They're not rooted in how much money you have. It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you don't know how to use the tool, you're going to have problems. So you don't want money thinking, okay, if I only had this much money, I'd be fine. You know, that's not really what you're saying, right? For a lot of people, they're talking about income, cash flow. If I can only make 100,000, that's cash flow. That's a cash flow problem, right? That's not an amount of money. And if you find, and I went through this myself, and I'm sure Pip has his own stories about it. You know, I used to think, you know, $24,000 was all the money in the world until I made it. And then I was like, can I make, 30 and then 50 and then 100 and all these milestones? And it didn't matter how much I was making. I still had the mindset of scarcity, the mindset of there's not enough, a mindset of, and it was a poor man's mindset is what I had. And there was no end in sight. I was racing to zero and didn't realize I was doing that. So, don't think money's going to solve your money problems. Giving you money or having access to money, giving you money is not going to increase your financial IQ. So you want to know, if I gave you $100,000, what would you do with it? Would you pay off your mortgage? Would you pay off your debt? These things, what are you doing? What's that going to do for you? It's going to give you less of a payment, but it's not going to increase your income. It's not going to increase your income. Pay off a mortgage. A mortgage is the best loan you'll ever get in your life. You want to pay off a mortgage? Why would you want to pay off a mortgage? Why? Take everything you've ever learned about money and do the opposite, and you'll be closer to the truth of the, what money's about than what we grew up with. Yeah, Pip.
Oh, I got a question for you, and it's from Core. And it's about mortgages. And here's what he says, and I want you to address it. He says, a friend of his, so obviously it wasn't Core, it was a friend of his that said this. Core, I got to give you grief, you know that. He says, don't pay off. Sam says, don't pay off your mortgage. But his friend says, if you do pay extra payments, whoa, I'm losing the thing here. If you do pay extra payments, you can make a good return by saving a lot of interest, especially in the beginning.
Okay, so here's the trap of the mortgage that gets you thinking, I should pay this off. Two primary things to do that for you. One is the fallacy that you don't own your house. So that's a huge driver. When people, Pep used to ask us all the time, if there's a mortgage with Citi or there's a mortgage with Toronto Dominion or whatever bank you bank with, if you have a mortgage with them, who owns your house? And they all said the bank. And it's furthest from the truth. The banks don't own your house. Your name's on the deed. If they owned your house, then you could call them 3 o'clock in the morning and say, come fix my toilet, right? Can you send an executive down? So you own your house, right? So, but there's a driver inside us that says, I want to own my house and I can't own it until I pay off the mortgage. Not true. And by the way, banks don't want your house because guess what? There's no money in real estate. Let's leave that aside for now, okay? Let's go back to the second thing that really distorts your image or understanding of mortgage. An amortization table. That thing is scary, man. You look at that and you're like, oh my gosh, if I take 25 years to pay this off, I'll pay 3 times my, the value of my house. Who cares? That's the wrong thing to look at. The one thing that you got to look at is the interest rate. What is the interest rate? What is the inflation, the deterioration rate of money? If someone's offering me money at 3% and inflation is 3%, I'm getting the money for free. I don't care what the number is at the end. Who cares about that? So you're not saving money. This is the only question you got to ask. And there is a reason to pay off your mortgage. You ready? We're talking financially now. I'm not talking about personal, you want to own your house, you want to pay it off. This is a different reason. You recognize it's a liability, you're okay with that. That's okay. We don't say to you don't get liabilities. We want you to have liabilities, but we want you to know that they're liabilities and not assets. So there's one reason only financially to pay off a mortgage. If I can't get better return than the cost of my mortgage, I should pay off my mortgage. So what does that mean? It means if I have a mortgage at 3%, and I can make 5%, then I shouldn't pay off my mortgage. I should take those payments, those extra payments, right? And then what I'm going to do is invest it at 5%, and then I can afford to pay 3% because I'm netting 2%. This is how you make money on the mortgage. But if I can't make 3%, then absolutely pay off your mortgage, right? Save the 3%. Saving 3% is the same thing as making 3%. But ask yourself this question. How are you going to retire if you can't get 3%? How? How are you going to retire? You know how much money you're going to need in your bank account? If you can't make 3%, you're going to need 1.5 million for you to be able to retire today. Today. Some of you are half Pip's age. Some of you are half Pip's age. I can't even tell you how ugly that number is going to be when you retire. When you retire, oh my gosh, you're going to need a ton of money because you have no ability to grow that money. At best, you're matching inflation. So is there a time and a place to pay off your mortgage? Absolutely. The question becomes, can I do better than my mortgage rate? Your mortgage rates right now are historic lows, right? You're talking about 1.6 or 1.65, 2 points, say 2%. You're telling me you can't take those extra payments and make better than 2% in this environment? You got a bigger problem. Money's not going to solve your money problems. It's not going to solve it. You need to understand how to create wealth. You need to understand how to take money, send it out, and let it come back with friends. That's what you need to understand. That's what we all need to understand. So we are plagued with this idea of debt's poisonous, and we always feel like someone else owns our stuff and we should own everything and pay everything off. This is materialistic. The rich aren't materialistic. The middle and working class are materialistic because all they try to do is buy things and pay them off. Who's materialistic? You think the wealthy people don't recognize that their stuff means something? It doesn't mean anything to them because they know that true net worth doesn't exist. Everything you own is going to lose value over time. Real investors, real wealth creation is understanding to control assets and not take the risk of ownership. That the highest risk position you can be is ownership. You don't want to own things. You don't want to. And the tax system does not support ownership. It does the exact opposite. It punishes you for owning it. You own a house and you don't get the benefit of that. other than we're not going to charge you taxes when you sell it, but if you rent, we're going to give you a tax credit. Like it's written all over the world. Like, I mean, just look through the pages. It's a punishment and reward system is the tax system. The tax system rewards you for going into the economy and creating wealth, creating jobs, providing clean and safe housing. You know, you consume, it'll reward you. It'll reward you. But if you are a destroyer of wealth, which unfortunately, if we haven't been taught anything else other than to consume, we destroy wealth and we don't know how to create it. And there's nothing wrong with destroying wealth. But if you're destroying more than you're making, there's going to be a problem. There's going to be a problem. And that's the difference between the way we were cultured growing up as middle class and working class, like myself and Pep, right? And the people that are actually the 1%. If you want to be the 1%, you got to do things different. And don't be shocked if it's the opposite of what you're doing. Pep?
Well, I have to say, Sam, there's some people on here that you must have told them about me at some point in the past. My question is, not quite sure what you told them. They've been very complimentary, very nice, but they thought I was just like this 110-year-old man up on a mountain, you know, with a long straggling beard.
You were my answer, buddy.
With all the stories I must, and all the people that I've told, I've taught. So that makes me feel, it makes me feel good, but also, what did you say to these people is what I
told them the truth, buddy. I told them you're the man. I told them that, man, I don't get here without you. I don't get here without you. My family knows that. My son knows that. You know what I mean? That's part of my story, for sure, brother.
But you must have told him I was this old man is what I'm saying, or whatever you did to make it sound like.
You know what? You know, the camera makes you look younger, but Pep, between me and you, you know, you're the best looking 80-year-old man I've ever seen.
They thought I was 110, and I do look good for 110. I will say that. I'm not sure I look so good for 53, but I look good for 110. It's all relative.
Oh, gosh.
But yeah,
so
obviously some students that you know at Albert and Annie. So they've been going back and forth here. So it's great to meet new people, to see new people on here. So keep sharing this, share this with other people. While Sam's taking a sip of coffee or whatever he drinks, I'm going to guess it's coffee even this time of night. Make sure, there he goes with his coffee. Make sure you guys are watching this on the YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate that. So you can see it on my YouTube channel. I would appreciate that. And then share this video on Facebook with other people. The only way that we are, you know, we're going to keep, we want to continue to do this and keep educating and keep sharing is to continue to get more people to see it. So we really appreciate that. And any comments you make are always great on the chat box. Go ahead.
Someone actually asked me, now that it popped into my head, someone asked me about Bitcoin and what I thought about Bitcoin. And you know, if you know those laws, and if you haven't, we've gone through the laws several times. And you know, if you don't know what they are, I'm going to quickly repeat them for those new people, but you can always watch the videos. Like Pip said, just go back, watch the videos. We go a little bit deeper into them, and we're going to continue to go deeper in them. So all wealth is created. You can't, that's one rule, a law. You can't trap wealth. That's another one. Supply and demand determine the value of all things. That's another one. 2 expansion laws are access to debt. There must be access to debt. And win-win transactions are the 2 expansion laws, 4 and 5. And 6 is that we problem solve. That's how we create wealth, is by problem solve. Okay, so let's go back to Bitcoin. This applies to everything. Let's go to Bitcoin, okay? So Bitcoin became popular for the dark web, black market consumption, right? Or transactions, more specifically. So there was a place you could go, still exists, I'm sure, a place you could go to buy things that you wouldn't be able to buy in everyday life. And because people didn't want to trace their transaction to lead them to this illegal activity, or at least frowned upon activity, they needed some way to hide the transaction. So somebody came up with different ideas, and one of them was Bitcoin. And the idea was you could trade Bitcoins and they were untraceable. And then one time they were untraceable. So as Bitcoin started to get popular, the first time I was introduced to Bitcoin, it was trading under $2. Okay, this is years ago. It was trading under $2. And I remember a gentleman I was teaching a class came up to me and says, "What do you think of Bitcoin?" And it was still new. It was new to me, that's for sure. And he said, "I'm thinking of mining it. This is like under $2. Thinking of mining it." And I said, oh, well, how does that work? I didn't even know how it worked. He said, we get computers and it mines it, and there's so many Bitcoins and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Never thought too much about it. And obviously, you know, a little bit about Bitcoin, you know, that it's skyrocketed, right? Bitcoin is, you know, went up to like 20,000, and then it, you know, collapsed, you know, in the low thousands or mid thousands. And now, you know, it's back up to, I think it was, what was it today, Pip? 40,000 or something like that? I can't remember the exact price. So anyways, so someone said, what do you think of Bitcoin? And I expressed that this is what I thought about Bitcoin. So Bitcoin became popular because it was a good way to do illegal things and use that as a transaction method. People said that it was a great idea for an alternative currency. And they liked the idea that it was similar to gold, that there's a limited supply. Now, if you don't know this, the earth doesn't produce gold. Gold came from outer space. Okay, it's a metal that came from outer space. So as much gold as because the earth does, you can't create it. You know, you can't create it in the earth. So gold comes from outer space. It comes to earth. It's all over the earth. The amount that's on the earth will all there'll ever be. You know, as long as we're around, right? That's all the ever will be of gold, and that's why one of the reasons that gold is seen as something valuable is because there's a limited supply. Nobody can create it, so you can't create inflation. It's not like you can print money. The other thing that gold is great is it basically lasts forever. It has no half-life, right? Pure gold, like it just doesn't deteriorate, right? It doesn't actually deteriorate over time. So that's another attribute of it. It's very malleable. You can shape it, stuff like that, and it's heavy, but you can shape it into a bunch of different things. It's easy to carry, blah, 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 blah. Okay, anyways, so Bitcoin, the attractive thing with Bitcoin was that there's a limited supply of Bitcoin, which again, nobody can keep printing it or create, you know, inflation, right? And deteriorate the value. So there's only so many Bitcoins that you can mine. I don't know how it is. Is it 18 billion or million? I can't remember what it is. Anyways, a lot's been made. There's some room for more for sure, but who cares? Because once you get to the limit, you can just break it down into smaller pieces like you do a bar of gold. Like, I mean, who cares? I mean, who cares if there's a limit or not? You can continue to break it down. So is there really a limit? I don't think so. But anyways, Bitcoin becomes popular because people start believing we're going to use this as an alternate currency. Now, here's the problem. Bitcoin originally became popular because it hid the transaction and it wasn't taxed. This is huge, right? It's not taxed. It's not seen. If it becomes an adopted currency, what's going to happen? It's going to be traceable, which it is now, and it's going to be taxed. And if these two things happen to Bitcoin, my belief is Bitcoin is going to go the way of gold. It's going to go up, and then it's going to just flatten out for the next, you know, century as a currency, if it actually is adopted as a currency, and deteriorate over time, just like gold has. And there's going to be no value, and at best, it's going to be a hedge against real currency or fiat currency. But know this, and if you don't know what fiat currency, it's Latin for let it be so. Basically, it's mandated, you know, money value by our governments. So Canadian dollar is fiat currency. The pound is fiat currency. The franc is fiat currency. The US dollar is fiat currency. There's nothing backing these currencies. Make no mistake, Bitcoin is a fiat currency, but not fiat by governments. It's fiat by market. Now the market has decided this thing has value. But there's literally nothing behind a Bitcoin. There's zero behind a Bitcoin. There's not some asset behind the Bitcoin that makes the Bitcoin valuable. It's fiat. It's just fake. We just created up this value. This value is real. Like the big problem with Bitcoin right now is if you think it's a currency, how would you like to have a $20 bill and go to the store and find out it's only worth $2? How'd that feel? Right? You go to buy groceries, they're like, you're like, yeah, I budgeted. You know, it's $80. Well, I'm sorry, that $80 is only worth $20 now. That's the problem with these Bitcoins and these alternative currencies. They fluctuate. Now you might go to the shopping store, they might say, hey, you know, $80. Wow, that's like $400. I mean, let me give you some change. You know, you don't need all this money to buy these groceries. Nobody wants that. If you're actually going to adopt this currency, for the value to fluctuate like that, nobody wants that. So again, if you want it to be a currency, it has to flatten out. So the prospect of getting in there and speculating on it, it's gone. It's gone. It's gone. This is going to follow the way of every other currency ever created. It's going to peak. People are going to try to play games. People are going to pump and dump, and the poor investor is going to get ripped on it. They're going to become sheep. who get trampled, unfortunately, because they get greedy, like hogs, right, Pep? Like hogs, and they get slaughtered. And this is the tragedy of that. Look, just stick to the rules, stick to the laws, apply those laws, and do them. If you want to trade Bitcoin, which I'm not opposed to, you better trade Bitcoin, but trade it knowing that the value is zero. That's the intrinsic value of Bitcoins. It's zero. Okay. Just because the market says it's worth 40,000 today, don't tell me that's real when it can drop $10,000. Where'd the $10,000 go? Where did it just disappear? It doesn't exist on the face of the earth. That's right. It doesn't exist anymore. So tell me, what's the true value of something that can flip up and down? Same thing with gold. Like, I don't get gold. Gold is a fiat currency too. Someone has to tell you gold's worth something. Gold isn't magical. It just, look, it came from outer space. It didn't just fall from the sky, but it did. It actually did fall from the sky. So even though it fell from the sky, its value is completely fabricated. Wealth is a completely fabricated idea by people. All that being said, if you understand these laws, more than anything, and this is a desire, a deep desire of Pip and myself, it's just to be mentally free from the prison that money creates for people in their own mind, their mindset. This kills us when we see it. It kills us for two reasons. One, we lived through it. There was a period of our lives when we lived through it. But to see our students, the people that we teach, trapped by that prison, it's heartbreaking that people think this is as far as I can go, or they just don't believe it's possible. And sometimes we put that pressure on ourselves. We got to be better teachers. So this a deep desire for us is to free your mind so you can understand these laws and really wake up one day soon, hopefully tomorrow, and say, you know what, I can create wealth from nothing. I got all the power I need. And if you live in Canada, the United States, Australia, UK, these modern economies, you really have no excuse. You have no excuse. For a lot of these countries, give free education, they give healthcare, they give so much to us. And for us to say that someone's trying to hold us down, it's a tough one to swallow as an excuse for not succeeding in life, right? I'll tell you though, it's very difficult and challenging to take that responsibility on yourself. I don't envy that position of taking that responsibility, but it's heavy. This is the good news. Every one of you can possess, understand those laws and apply those laws and build wealth. And don't worry so much about how much you're going to create and have, as you should. You should do that because we believe it's your more responsibility to create as much wealth as you can and redistribute as you see fit. More so what you can do in sharing the application through example, not just words, through example. This gets us excited. This is why we believe deeply in legacy. Pep, what do you want to add, buddy?
Well, I just want to add that what you just said there at the end, it's amazing that there's people coming on here thinking that I'm some wise old fool, that didn't make sense, wise old man, because I taught you some stuff and then you passed it on. As long as you keep passing it on, the one thing you have to understand is as the messenger, the teacher, you're going to get ridiculed. You're going to say you're crazy, you're nuts, and you may not have the answer. And that's always the tough part. When you truly believe in something, and we could talk about religion, we could talk about money, obviously, we could talk about, a lot of different things. When you truly believe in something and somebody comes with a different opinion, it's tough to overcome that. And Sam likes to get into a good discussion, argument. That's not me. I am not an argumentative guy. I'd rather be happy than right. So I don't like the disagreement. If you say, Pip, I don't think that's the case, I'm like, you're exactly right. I appreciate that you said that. Because I don't want to get in the argument. Sam loves to have that discussion. And we've had many plates of nachos and chicken wings over these discussions over the years. So, and so what's really cool is understanding that you're going to get ridiculed for it, and that's all right. You're going to have people that want to knock you down for what you believe and think. And everybody that's ever believed in any religion of any kind has gotten knocked down at some point. Everybody that believes in whether it's communism or capitalism has gotten knocked down by somebody on the other side at any point in time. And that's okay. We feel that, and I'm going to come back to what I think is the most important rule or our law of money, and that's to create win-win situations. I truly believe this. We teach so much with real estate, and we had a trading over the weekend, and Sam and I were doing this training, and Sam loves to say, if you can't sit on both sides of the table and be happy with the outcome, then it wasn't a good transaction. And this is why I truly despise people that think there's always a winner and a loser. And we get into sales. People talk about sales. If you didn't close them, they closed you. Well, I disagree with that. I totally disagree with that. What I totally believe is that we can all come out on the winning side. Do some people profit $10 and some people only profit $2? Yeah. But as long as you both won at the end of the day, that's the thing. Because you're going to keep coming back for that relationship every time you create value for somebody else. And so that to me is the true meaning of everything we talk about, is understanding we always want to create value. We want to make sure that the other person we're across the table from is happy with the result that they got from our interaction. Sam.
Yeah, and great point, Pip, about win-win transactions. One thing I got to say before I forget, my sister called me and she said, hey, I listened to your show. I didn't get a chance to see, but I listened to it the next day, and great show. Loved it. Great synergy. But why do you keep saying it's a half hour? She goes, just say it's an hour, buddy. Just say it's an hour. Just, commit.
Well, I originally wanted to do 30 minutes, and then that way people keep wanting to come back for more. And with Sam, you know how hard it is to get Sam to quit talking in 30 minutes? We're at 41 minutes right now, and you're still going strong. So,
and we got more. Let me go ahead.
You're fine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so the big thing about win-win transactions and the way to get past that mental barrier is to understand that wealth comes in more than one form. It's not just money. So if we group them together, as an example, we use money is a form of wealth. Time is a form of wealth, and product and service is a form of wealth. And what you want to do in your win-win transactions, you want to trade one form of wealth for another form of wealth. That's how you create a win-win transaction. If you both chase money, then you both lose. If you both chase time, you both lose, right? So you want to be the person that recognizes that this person needs time. So I'm going to trade. They want time, so I'm going to ask them to trade. I'll give them time if they give me money. Trade, right? Now they win and I win, right? If they need money, I say, okay, let's trade money. You want money, I'll give you money, but trade it to me for product or service. This is how you win transactions. This is how you can sit on either side of the table and be happy with the deal. But if you're both chasing the same type of form of wealth, there's going to be a winner or loser. And unfortunately, we've been bred and raised and mentally to think that money is the only true form of wealth. Like it's money, it's all about money. This isn't true. There's time, which is actually the most valuable one, as my good friend and mentor Pip will tell you. Time is everything, right? Nobody cares when the end comes. Nobody cares who's the richest man in the graveyard. They're all dead. Okay, nobody cares how much money you have if you're dead. Okay, and at the end, you don't regret what you did. You regret what you didn't do because you ran out of time. Okay, this is what, and all the money in the world. I don't care if you're Bill Gates or you're, who's that guy? Microsoft, not Microsoft, Amazon,
Bezos.
Sorry, Bezos. Bezos. Doesn't matter how much money you have. You're Zuckerberg there from Facebook. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You can't buy one more minute of life with all the money in the world. Okay, so make no mistake, time is the real commodity that we're pursuing. This is why we pursue wealth, is to control time, the quality and the length of it. And we've talked about this on previous shows. The more wealth you have, yes, there's a relationship between money and how long you live and the quality of life that you live. Okay, and there's no reason that you don't deserve to enjoy that too. And get away from this idea that there has to be poor people and rich people. This is all relative. This is, the gap between the rich and the poor is expanding. Ooh, what does that mean? So what? Of course it's going to expand. Why? Wealthy people know how to make money. And how do you go from poor to zero? Can you go lower than zero? How do you, So the only way to collapse this expansion is to make rich people make less. Stop creating wealth, which hurts who? The poor people, middle class. This is nonsense. These things we say, and I used to say them, they used to make sense to me, but they don't anymore because I actually question what these things mean. Don't believe you can't be in a win-win transaction. Don't believe that's true. There's a winner and a loser. Why? Who said that? Where's your proof of that? Maybe that's your life or your experience. There's winners and losers, but we don't live in that world. We don't live it because we will sit on both sides of that table and we will say this is a good deal either way. I would take that deal. This is the pursuit and what you need to understand if you want to accelerate the growth of wealth in your life. Not only financially, but mentally. Mentally. Well, we can't do this? What? Only me can do that, or Pip can do that? What? You're not good enough? Come on. Look, we're only doing what people taught us and what we've seen other people have done. We've studied the history. We studied those who have made wealth and how that wealth was made. And what we've seen is this. Every single one of us has the capacity to do this. You don't have to sit back and watch like you're watching TV, changing channels. These people have it and I don't. No, put the remote down. Start doing this. This is what this is about. No one's stopping you, especially if you live in one of these beautiful countries that we do, that most of you live in. There's not a lot of excuse for not making it happen. You can do this. All wealth is created. Don't forget it. Pip?
Well, I mean, I have so many opinions right now, and I could talk for hours, but we're on an hour show, right? Is that what it is now? Yeah. So I want to make a comment. The Super Bowl just happened last weekend, and everybody's like, well, somebody won, somebody lost. Let's talk about Patrick Mahomes for just a moment, because I live in Kansas City. He lost the game. He lost the game on Sunday, but is he a loser? I mean, that young man has already done more for the city of Kansas City than multiple people over and over for years and years and years, and he's going to continue to do that. He lost a game, but he's still a winner, and so is everybody that gets the opportunity to even get out and play that sport of football. Whether you like the sport or not is irrelevant. But when it really comes down to is the point that those guys, they're young, they're healthy, they're living at the pinnacle of their life. They're never going to have more fun than what they're probably doing right now, other than maybe bouncing their grandkids on their knee. I've heard that's really cool. Not there yet. Not excited to be a grandpa yet. My kids are too young. But the point being is, I really think, and somebody said, he's got hundreds of millions of dollars of contract. But he's going to keep, multiplying that wealth, and how many people will be benefited from it, and how much is he giving away, and how much is being taxed. Think about it just that way. You can sign a $500 million contract. How much is the government going to get? And so who's creating that? Well, he's creating that, but so is the owner of the team and all the people that buy the tickets and all the people that buy the merchandise and all that kind of stuff. And that's that consumptionist society. Everybody that buys a number 15 Kansas City Chiefs jersey is contributing to that. And that's really what it comes down to. So I get so warm, winners, losers. We're all winners. If we grew up in the countries that we are in right now, you're a winner. Because I've seen a lot worse. And I've seen it. But I mean, that's why people are dying to get to Canada. That's why people are dying to get to the U.S. and to these places, because there's opportunities. And do we have our share of problems? Do we have weird politicians? Do we have people we dislike? Are there bad people? There's bad people everywhere you go. But as long as we can be that positive force and realize that we need to keep creating win-win relationships so that everybody can be pulled up. When you start pushing yourself up by pushing other people down, that to me is the biggest problem that you can have. You need to be pulling other people up as you pull yourself up. What do you got, Sam?
Yeah, just a quick point about the Super Bowl. Mahomes was the hope that somebody would come around and beat Brady's Super Bowl appearance and record of winning Super Bowls, but the guy did it again. You know how many lifetimes he had to live to win that many Super Bowls? Now, Mahomes, how many Super Bowls does Mahomes have to be in to win as many Super Bowls as that guy? Like, unbelievable. And you know what I thought was crazy about the Super Bowl, since we're on it? Did you hear that? Who is the performer? What was his name again? I can't remember. I keep up with these names. Weekend apparently paid something like $7 million, contributed $70 million to do his show. Did you hear that? Like, how is that even possible? Like, NFL needs money. Like,
but here's the point. Why wouldn't you?
But still, like, I mean, no, I get it. I get it why you would. No, wait a minute. I get it. But seriously, the NFL can't afford to pay this guy? Are you kidding me? I don't care if there's anybody in the stands. Forget the stands, the viewership, the commercials. They made this guy put up $7,000. It was a good show. I thought it was great. But come on, $7 million bucks, $7,000, eh? But Pip, you make a good point. Pays up $7 million and does the show. Who wins? Everybody does. Yeah, I get it. But seriously, the NFL, come on.
I like the people buying the cutouts of themselves to be at the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's good. That's what I mean.
That was good. There looked like there was a lot of people there. It did. When you saw it, it looked like there was a lot of people. I enjoyed it. It was good, and it was actually. I felt okay with Brady winning again because he wasn't on New England. If it was New England, I would have been, But you know, new team, host the Super Bowl, man. That guy's got a charm. Like,
you gotta admire the discipline to be able to that level when your body starts to break down. Because I mean, you're way older than Tom Brady. I know that. So yeah, but even when you were, 2 years ago, you were 43, right? Is that what 10 years ago? Well, 10 years ago when I was 43, I can't imagine even doing anything that kind of high level of athletics, and he's still doing it. So, Sam, we've got to. You have one more thing you got to say?
I was just gonna say, did you know? Last I checked, Giselle, that's his wife, right? Makes more money than he does a year. Makes more money than he does a year. Gosh, what's going on in the world? Anyways. We're going to wrap up, but is there a last question that you want to answer from the chat? Are we good? We all good?
Most people are talking about the Super Bowl and all that good stuff and everybody on there.
Good.
So we are going to keep talking about the laws of money. Obviously, every time we do that, because that's what it's all about. Please share this with people on Facebook. Watch it on on Pip Stellick's YouTube channel. For those of you guys that thought I was this mythical creature, I'm glad to meet you. That is awesome, Albert and Annie. Great to have you. Anybody else you want to bring on here? I love it. This is awesome. Sam, any parting words, my friend?
Yeah, I just want to give you a fact about unicorns, because I did say you were going to turn into a unicorn. Here's a fact about unicorns. Unicorns aren't real, so there are no facts about unicorns.
Another riddle for you from the Sam Musa Book of Riddles. Oh my God. Right. So with that being said, turn to somebody you know, somebody you don't know, tell them you're going to be all right.
Keep it all right.
We'll talk to you next week on the Wealth Debate. So long.